and you're tuning in to the beginning of a series of tapes that we hope to do about the history of the town of Wright and the village of Gallupville. And as we begin today, we start with Chester Gage Zimmer. Chester G. Zimmer.
Right.
And Chester has been a resident of the town since 1910, which happens to be when he was born. And I've known Chester for a while, and Chester has done years and years of collection and research about our town of Wright, and especially Gallupville. And so we're going to begin a conversation, begin to look at some of the information that Chester's gathered. And we hope you find this a very interesting experience. Chester, let's begin right at the beginning. When the Indians lived here in Fox Creek, in the Fox Creek Valley, we know that there were some at Schoharie, but were there any in the town of Wright or in Gallupville?
Not that I've ever read or researched to find. The villages were in Schoharie, and undoubtedly they came out through this valley to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
A few years ago, an Indian artifact, Indian arrowhead, was found in my own garden here. But otherwise, I don't think there was ever any village or any resident place here in the valley.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know, Chester, we're going to be talking about the town of Wright and the village of Gallupville, and we have a lot of photographs to share. So let's begin by turning to the maps.
Mm-hmm. Good idea.
Good idea. This is our first map that we have. Why don't you tell us something about this map?
Well, first of all, I have a 3-ring binder full of old maps that I have found in my research from old history. I have copies made at the State Office of Secretary of State in Albany, and also the Historic and Archives Department of State Education Department. The first good map to show is a map of the town of Wright is this 1866 copy from the Atlas of Schoharie County, which was first good set of maps for the whole county. It was in 1751 when two men, Lawyer and Berg, purchased 2,640 acres, and I'm drawing on outline in here. This is where it was, in this area right here, and here's Gallupville right in the center.
How many acres was that?
2,640.
2,640 acres, and that lies within this red line.
That is correct.
And this is the village. So the village is right in the middle of that acreage.
Village, right in the middle of that acreage. And also notice all the squares around here are squared off, and in here there were no squares, and that's good for another story of how the land was all taken up in land grants. And this was the Berg and Lawyer and Berg purchased this from the Indians, and this English land grant was given, and to make it more authentic, it was backed up as being an authentic Indian deed. The Lawyer and Berg did not take advantage of the Indians, and it was backed up by no other than Sir William Johnson, the well-known Indian agent.
Okay.
He said, okay, it's an okay bona fide deed.
So actually, this land wasn't simply taken, it was actually a purchase that was certified by Sir William Johnson.
That's correct.
Okay, and ultimately he was an agent for the King and Queen of England.
That's right.
Okay.
King, and he was appointed as the agent to protect the Indians.
Okay, fine.
And now we go to map number 2. Here's a picture of Gallupville from the same 1866 atlas. And first of all, note the line. This line here is a compass line drawn northeast 30 degrees east. And this line goes right through the heart of Gallupville, right where the Memorial Monument is today. And this on this side, on the east side, was purchased by Jacob Zimmer in 1752, a year after the Lawyer Berg purchase. On the other side, the west side, had already been purchased by John Schaefer, and he had 2 sons, Frederick and and another son, John, and they later divide their purchase into here, and here was John, and here was Frederick. All on this side was where Jacob Zimmer owned, 1,200 acres. Right at the foot of the hill, going up towards Knox, just above the village, just here's Seelig Road, and right here at the foot of the hill was where Jacob Zimmer built a stone house and for his home, and that's where he lived all his life, and it later became Hiltz's. And that explains that map, and we'll go to the next map.
Let's just take a couple minutes.
Okay.
It says this is where the town barn is
Well,
today.
that comes on another map.
Okay, but I'm just trying to
Yeah,
orientate people.
yeah.
And this is, I see here, the Methodist church is here.
Yeah.
And the Lutheran church is here.
That's
So
correct.
that's where we are.
That's
okay.
where we are.
Let's move to another map.
Here's an interesting map, the same map, only with some other information on it I have compiled. First of all, we come up from Schoharie today, and here's the intersection of Route 146 and 443. The old road came right up through back of today's village and intersected here at the Seelig and Knox Road, and that was the old road. Nothing was in here at that time, just plain old work land or brush and
Field.
trees and fields, open land.
This would have been in about what year?
Right around 1800, after the
Okay.
Revolutionary War.
So this was fields,
Mm-hmm.
and the road went straight.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So it's all in deed records called the Old Road.
All right.
Then we come to, we find that Ezra Gallup comes in and gets interested in this area and buys land in 1817, and he buys this land in here, down in through here, and here he builds his saw for a mill, and here was the old creek as it ran down pretty close over back of the village and against the bank. This was original creek bed.
All right.
And he builds a dam here in a creek to divert water into a mill pond, which he constructed. Here he had a dam to hold his mill pond, a wall on this side. This is about 500 feet on down to where he built his grist mill. And this grist mill today would have been right at the end of Wellman's Lane, and this was called Mill Lane in that day. And today it's Wellman's Lane. Here was a road that came in from the main village street or village road up here, came down into his property, and here he had a country store. That country store today is on the site of the old hall that's halfway up the hill, and it's abandoned now and empty. To go on, here we'll show you pictures of this, and here is, we'll go back down here first. In 1831, a man by the name of Samuel Curran buys land of Frederick Schaefer. As on that other map I showed you, Frederick Schaefer owned this land down in here. So he builds a tannery down here, and this is down on the site of today's transfer station right by the bridge.
Okay.
Here is his water for his tannery, and it's the race, the tail race from the Gallup mill run down right down to him. Frederick Schaefer, at the same time that he sold this, reserved a water right off of that mill pond that he made, or tannery pond that he made, and he had a sawmill over on the site right here of today's firehouse. Come back uptown, in the middle of the village here. It was 1834 when John Schoolcraft bought land and built a hotel. And he also, a year later, bought land and built on the site of today's corner store. So here we have down in here, the mill site of Gallup, his store, the tannery, the hotel, and that's all there was of Gallupville about 1835. And from then on is when all these black spots, as you see in this 1866 map, and when buildings were built and homes were built in that era. The Methodist Church was built in 1844. The Lutheran Church was built in 1853. That's landmarks. Up here is the old, on this site is at the corner of Seelig Road and the Knox Road was the Reformed Church built in 1844. Now let's go back to the island. This is an island. As you can see, the water here, all water here, and this was called the island. This, of course, was back and owned by Ezra Gallup. He moved right along, and in let me see now, he bought it in 1815, and in 1825 he sold the mill for $4,000. He retained his sawmill, which was here by the dam, and his country store. There was a wagon shop down in here. There was 2 dwellings down on this island, and there was a carding and fulling mill, a sawmill, and there was quite a lot of land here. All hadn't been taken up by the creek yet. The creek, as time went on and floods, the creek kept changing and coming up and eating in more and more and more and more. And we'll get into that later on.
Let me just check. So the dam was here, Chester.
Dam in the creek was there.
And when you dammed the creek up here, it forced water down here.
Yep, that's right.
And this is the mill pond.
That's right.
And we're going to visit these sites in photographs.
That's right.
Today, where
That's
they
right.
are. So up here was really a gate.
That's right.
And there was the sawmill
right by the dam.
Right there.
Right by the mill pond dam.
And we're going to go to those sites and see
That's
some
right.
pictures. So when we talk about the mill site and the dam,
That's right.
this is actually where we're going to be, and this is just down over the embankment
That's
where the road is today.
That's right.
All right. And then after this, they caught the raceway water and ran it down here and put another mill in.
That's right.
And then from the tailwater from that mill, the water ran down here into the tannery.
That's correct.
All right. And over the years, this island, we're going to visit that, is pretty well wiped out. And there were actually businesses and homes living and dwelling on that island.
That's right. It was, let me look here at my notes. I got a little information right here. There was houses on the island, as I've mentioned, and in 1870, let me see here, never mind, 1880s, there was a big fire, and the sawmill and carding and turning works all burned. So that was the end of the sawmill in here.
All right. Now, what about, we've seen these that were right here in the village.
That's right.
What about the other, were there other mills and other things? And you have a map here related to those.
Well, this is an interesting map here. It's a common up-to-date road map of the town of Wright. And we'll go back to 1855 census of Schoharie County in the town of Wright with a listing of 24 sawmills, 2 grist mills, 3 clover mills, 3 carding and clothing works, and 1 tannery. Now this is not my figures. This is all from the 1855 census records for the town of Wright for Schoharie County.
Let's go over that again. Wait a minute. How many mills?
24 sawmills.
Sawmills, 24.
20.
And that's right here within the town
That's
of Wright.
right within the town of Wright, and that's what these red dots all
right.
represent is where these locations are.
Where these mills were. Okay.
Where these mills
24
were.
sawmills.
24
What were the rest?
sawmills, 2 grist mills,
Okay.
3 clover mills,
Clovers. They were mills.
That's where the farmers took their clover seed to be cleaned and air cleaned and
So they could plant the fields with clover next year.
That's right.
So there was 2 of those.
There was 3 of those.
3. Okay.
And I know all about how they were, but too much detail here to get it.
Okay. How many
And
other?
3 carding and clothing works.
That had to deal with the sheep.
That's right.
Okay.
Sheep industry.
Sheep
And
industry.
the one tannery, which we have talked about
All
in
right.
Gallupville.
Wow.
Okay. I've hiked all these mill streams back in the 1972 and 73 and photographed 44 mill dam sites, which have all been destroyed by flood, and much of the remains still stands today. And that's what all these red dots are on all the streams all over the town of Wright that I've hiked and photographed, and they're in my files, pictures of all these sites. Now some don't have anything except where they were. And we'll go back to that first map we looked at, the big map. Just hold it up there just momentarily, just for like that. That's a good. A lot of these mill dams are located on this map. Back in 1866, as you go around, you'll see it says mill dam. That's okay, Bob. Take that one away.
Fine.
I would like to explain a little bit about the dams, especially up here on in the Dutch Settlement Creek up in here. There was a series of dams there. They called them step dams. Now what that means was there was a sawmill and located, and there would be 2 or 3 dams just above the sawmill. And that's the reason they're so close, that where it would fill up with water during the night, and they start sawing in the morning. Okay, 10 o'clock, dam number 1 is empty. The man went up and opened up dam number 2, so they had more water for 2-3 more hours, and then later dam number 3. Now over here up on another interesting site is up in the middle of the town here on Route 146. There was a big sawmill. It was a hill sawmill, and the water and the sawdust ran right into a rock crevice. And I know exactly where it is. It's located between Ostrander Road and Doctor Road. It's on the south side of the road is a house, and up in back is where that sawmill was. And that was very interesting because I also read in history, and then when the plank road was being built, a lot of plank was sawed there for the plank road. And that man, Mr. Hill, was the first one around to have a steam engine for his power because of the lack of water.
And this was right here, Ostrander and Doctor Road.
That'd be that dot right there.
Right.
This dot right here would be the location then.
And that was by steam.
It lived steam power and when the plank road was built.
Okay.
That's the end of the maps, and we'll go for some pictures now.
Let's look at some pictures.
Okay.
Can you redo it? Chester, tell us about this photograph.
Well, that'll be easy. It's the old wooden dam across the Fox Creek that Mr. Gallup built, and probably has been rebuilt several times since, but this was his location. And it was to divert water into the mill pond that he had built. Now please note the gate. That's this arrangement here, and that was a gate that was used to divert the water into the mill pond. So if they wanted to work on the mill pond, they would close the gate and the water overflowed. This shows the creek here. It's low. There's no water going over. This picture's taken at a dry spell of year, so there's no water going over the apron here. This was what they called an apron. And I had an old gentleman tell me about going swimming where the water had gouged out a hole here, and where the boys used to go in swimming below the mill dam. And that's it. We're ready for number 2.
Let's stay here a minute. I want to check, see if we got it straight. This is the Schoharie Creek coming.
No, Fox's Creek.
Fox's Creek, I'm sorry. Fox's Creek is coming down here. This dam is across that creek.
That's right.
And then this is a gate, a water gate, that lets water out on this side.
That's correct.
Now, I see this little narrow strip of land. Is this the island here?
No, I don't know what that is. That
Okay.
must be the creek.
That's just either side of the creek
I
bank.
think the creek comes down in through here, comes around a bend. into this area, and this was the dam right across.
And ordinarily, when it was running full, water would be cascading over this edge here, where this lady was standing.
That's right.
So if it was really, really going, that lady wouldn't be standing there.
That is correct.
Because there would be tons and tons of water,
That's correct.
gallons of water flowing
That's
across.
correct.
Okay, I got it. I know where I am.
This was probably taken after the big flood of 1903. The dam is washed out. You can see all the damage. And here lays the gate arrangement, all down here laying flat and all destroyed.
So the thing that we were just looking at was the dam across here,
And
and this flood just literally, it went away, and
that was the end of the dam.
and this is a gate arrangement, but it's fallen over and it's laying in the creek bed itself.
That's right.
All right, and there's
Destroyed.
someone standing here.
We know there was a bad flood in 1903, and that's pretty positive this picture was taken in that era.
And this would be about where Wellman's is today?
This is way up above Wellman's house, way up.
Okay, way up above
way
Wellman's.
above
Okay,
Wellman's.
we'll see that later. This one.
Okay, the water from the dam that we just looked at came through a ditch and came in over here. Don't show over on this side. This is where it came in over here. And it flowed out over right here on the same end.
This is a mill pond.
This is a mill pond.
Right
You
here.
can see water here. And down here you're going to see pictures coming up of the dam that held the mill pond. Here's houses up on today's main route through the village. And this picture, of course, is about a 1900 picture. But there's houses up here.
They're still there, some
still
of them
there,
today.
some of
Okay.
them.
So the water came in over here. This is an overflow.
Yeah,
And then it went on down out this way
to the mills.
to the mill itself. Okay? Fine.
We'll see more pictures of that when a later 1973 picture of that mill pond.
Okay.
Okay, this is a stone wall, stone structure, stone constructed dam that was at the bottom of the mill, for the mill pond. It held the mill pond. Here's a hole in the wall where the water was taken out to run the sawmill, and the sawmill is right here where I'm pointing, right next to the face of this mill.
The sawmill was right there.
Right there.
Okay. Now, there would have been some way, a gate arrangement, so that they could open and close a gate that would let the water come out
That's
of it?
right, for
Okay.
the sawmill. And then,
But then it would go right into the mill at that point.
oh yes.
Okay.
Now there's another, the next picture shows a little more of it.
Let's say, is this closer to Wellman's?
This is about 500, 600 feet above Wellman's of today.
Okay.
And that other dam is another 1,000 feet on above this one.
Okay. All right.
Here's a continuation of that same wall that we just looked at, only over on this end over here is in behind these trees. It's all obliterated. Was where there was a big gate arrangement that, when I'm in my day, the water entered a tube which was 42 inches in diameter,
Wow.
about 500 feet long, and I remember this. That went down to my grandfather's grist mill, and I remember going up to this area, up to here, with my uncle, and he'd go up there, know now what he went up for, to open up the gate when they was ready to use the mill.
So the grist mill was on down from the sawmill.
The old sawmill is long since gone. That had burned in 1887. I'm talking about 15, when they're still being used.
So these trees would have all grown up
These trees are all grown up since.
since
you
that
can't go
time.
up there. You can't go there to see anything today. I was up there just this past month, and you don't even go up there to try to take pictures anymore because it's all woods.
Now, we have photographs of we don't have any photographs of the sawmill.
No,
But we do have some photographs of the grist mill that was down below.
Oh yes, we have that. That's coming up.
We're
on
gonna
another
see that.
series. You're
All
going
right.
to see that. Okay, here is a wall that shows here, and this was a wall that held in the mill pond on the south side. Up here, this is 73 picture. Up here is the houses, and these houses, of course, showed on that early picture where the dam, we seen water in that dam. So go on to the next picture.
This is the wall of the dam.
The side wall.
The sidewall?
that held in the
Would
dam.
would it have been on the village side or
No.
the other
The
side?
south side, on the creek side.
On the creek side. That's the wall on the other side of the
This
dam.
next picture shows a little better.
Okay.
That wall we just talked about just don't show. It's over in here. Here was 73 picture when Mr. Lloyd Wellman was owner and still owns it. This was all work land. He had worked it. And it's about probably a couple of acres. And this is a picture, same picture, houses up here that we saw just 2-3 pictures ago. It was all water. And now, of course, it's all work land in 73. Right now, in 97, now just today, since the big flood last January, the main creek is running right through here. This is about 1/3 gone. The main creek is right where I'm pointing. Right here is all creek bottom.
Now, Chester, when we were looking at that original map and we saw that big island,
Yeah, that's right.
this was
is
part of the island.
That's part of the island.
So if we went way back to the 1700s, this would be all actually land,
That's right.
and there were houses
And the houses,
and businesses
Well,
located on this island.
after it had been after 1820, after Mr. Gallup started developing. Now here, like I have on here, you'll see says Sawmill, Old Sawmill Road. Well, it's a road that came down into here. It's right directly across the road today of the hall, the abandoned hall that's halfway up through the village, which was last the Gospel Church, and now it's empty. Right directly across the road is where this road came down in here.
All right. Interesting. Interesting. Chester, we have a couple ads here. It says from the Schoharie Republican. I take it that that was a local newspaper.
That was a local newspaper in Schoharie, and a lot of Gallupville businesses advertised at that time in that Schoharie paper, of course. And this picture, this advertisement is dated May 10th, 1836. And as I mentioned before about the sawmill that Gallup built, Mr. Gallup built right directly below his Mill Pond Dam and a sawmill road going down into that area. This Mr. James Gibbs had a business there, and it was whatever you read. Can you read it there, Bob? What he did?
Sure. It says the subscriber is now offering public general assortment of the following articles: chairs of all kinds, bedstead posts, wheels, hubs, brooms, forks, hoes and handles, wagons and carriage hubs, all kinds of turning done on the shortest notice, either in wood or iron, and on the most reasonable terms. He solicits all who may want any of the above articles, and he flatters himself after long experience in the business, and he will give generous satisfaction to all who feel disposed to patronize him. James Gibbs, Gallupville, March the 12th, 1836. Wonderful.
That's an early date and an early business here in Gallupville.
Was this one that was on the island
That was right on the island,
and it's gone?
and it's long since gone. This building that he had, or was in, burned in 1887.
Okay.
And now you've got another picture there
Yeah.
to hold up there, another advertisement.
Another ad.
It's right in that same area.
Schoharie Republican,
This is 1842.
October the 11th.
And what does that say? Gallupville Cabinetware.
Cabinetware House. The subscriber wishes to inform the public that he carries on the cabinet making business at Gallupville in all its various branches, and may be ready at all times to execute any orders in the above business of all kinds of the best quality, kept constantly on hand for sale, cheap, for cash, country produce, or approved credit. Carriages and sleighs, signs, and painted on short notice in good style and on the most reasonable terms.
And that's 150 years ago.
Persons in want of any articles in this line are requested to call before purchasing elsewhere. Gideon W. Eaton, Gallupville, November the 19th, 1841. N.B. coffin of different sizes kept on constant hand. burial coffins.
Oh, yes.
He made those.
Oh, yes.
And sold at moderate prices.
And I've read where some of those early coffins were sold for $1.50 a piece. $1.50 a piece with just a wooden box.
Gone are the days.
Gone are those days.
Chester, this about concludes our first program. We hope, well, wait a minute. We hope that people will stay with us for our second program, where we have a lot of photographs of these mills that we've been talking about and showing their location. So, Chester, thank you for being a part of this first segment, and we'll start the second one and hope folks will want to see that one as well. Hello, I'm glad you could join us again.